Okay, the sound should be back. Hey y'all. I have the good microphone selected. Test. Okay, it's working now.
When are we gonna announce our winners?
For the competition?
Yeah, we do it at the end or
sure.
Yeah.
We do have the final winners also for the competition. We have our community winners, and then we need to actually then vote on the winner of the 3 designers. I'm going to post the 3 photos after today's class, or maybe, yeah, I'll post right after today's class. But we actually have our winners from the competition that we have their final picks. So we'll announce at the end of class. Maybe Rachel will come over and announce it with me. But for now, welcome. You should be able to hear me now. Welcome to today's class. We are designing with the New York City mystery box. All those goodies have been arriving, and it's been really fun sorting through. And since there's so many different gorgeous fire polish beads, especially, Rachel and I decided to make mixes. We're making small batches of mixes using the fire polish, and I'll show you, and they've been coming out like better than I could have imagined. Let me show you a little bit what I'm talking about. Check out. Oh, and what I was needed, I was saying, if you don't want any sneak peeks, look away now. But here are some possible items that might be coming in your mystery box. Obviously, every mystery box is going to have a little variance because we're making a whole bunch of mixes. Here's one of the mixes. We made it in a large size and a smaller size, and we're intentionally doing it that way because I think mixes are really nice when the beads are a bit more uniform. So in here I have like really nice 4mm, 6mm fire polish beads. Let's see, where's my background here? And some lovely purples. So this is actually the mix that we made the most of. So you're probably going to get a nice 1-ounce bag of this amazing mix. And these fire polish is getting I don't know. You might be aware there have been some price increases of recent, and fire polish has been hit a lot because of everything, all the steps involved to make a bead this beautiful. But we kind of scored with these boxes because these were all made. They think they're likely vintage beads, and we just have these gorgeous fire polish, and we're making mixes out of them. And you're gonna get like a whole bunch of fire polish in your mystery box. So if you were on the wait list for a mystery box, you should now see it in your cart. If you have not picked one up yet, we have a few extra after the wait list. Definitely now is the time to get them because we are going to run out. Here's the larger size of a similar like purple, pinks, bronzy mix. So I grabbed these 2 just to have a little bit of coordinating. It's looking like we're also going to be able to include a bundle of a fire polish. So I believe this is one bundle. These 2 together is one bundle. It's like 600 pieces of fire polish. Like, it's crazy. I don't even know what the retail. This would probably be like $12 to $15 these days just for 600 pieces of like something like this. So I'm very excited for you to get your hands on these mystery boxes. From there, it'll be a little bit more of a surprise because we have lots of miscellaneous strands. I just grabbed one of the cathedral cuts. There's a bunch of cathedral cuts in mix of colors and such. And so from here, today's class is we're going to make some we're going to make some cluster earrings using some non-design components from the shop. This is not a mystery kit item, so you can pick these up. And then I'm just going to be decorating these with as much fire polish glam as possible. So welcome to our cluster earrings class. Let's see, we don't have Jesse here to block the spam comments on YouTube, but we don't have Jesse here to block. Whoa, I'm hearing myself. Let's see if I can do it from my end. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to click. Jesse does this every time. Alrighty. Spam. Alrighty, hopefully that got rid of it. All right, let's jump in. So there's multiple ways you can make clusters. One way I've shown in the past is kind of a head pin version. where you put each of your beads on a head pin and then put all of those loops onto a piece of wire. And then by them coming together, they form a cool cluster formation. The other classic way to make a cluster is more of a chain-like, where you're linking your beads, each one goes on head pin, and then you're linking them using jump rings. So my goal is actually kind of use a combination today based on what looks nice with these components. My goal is just like beautiful dangles coming down from this lovely component. I really don't want to cover up too much of this component because I think the shape is just so beautiful. Because one other way we could start it is wire wrapping with the small beads and making a cluster right onto the component. There's so much you can do with clusters. I'm going to start with dangling down from it and see how we like that. This is kind of an exploration cluster just because there's so many ways to put it together. And so we're probably mostly going to be using beads from the smaller size mix. But then I want to feature some of the large beads and kind of have the clusters going around those. So that's the main idea for today. Let me make a little bit of space here. Probably mostly going to be using these mixes. I've got some of our niobium ear wires from TR Crafts. Rachel's publishing these to the website right now. And then I've got some oval jump rings. These are coming soon to the shop. We added one jump ring recently that sold out, so we're starting to add more jump ring SKUs. But I've got some of these nearby, so I'm going to use some of those oval jump rings from TR Cast. And let's jump in. So I'm thinking I want to start with the first type of cluster that I talked about, where each of the head pins goes on to a piece of wire. And I'm thinking I want to stack it onto one of the larger beads. So we're going to start just by prepping a whole bunch of smaller beads, and then we'll see what we think of the look. So you're going to want to grab a bunch of head pins. I'm doing everything in copper today. And you're going to need a whole bunch of head pins, y'all. Like, this is looping central today. If you don't feel loopy by the end of this, you have not made enough loops. So I'm going to kind of do it mostly at random with a mix of sizes, and we'll see how it looks. Typically, when I do this type of cluster, I will use one size of bead, but there's something really pretty about the designs that I've seen where they're doing a variety of beads, and even then those beads usually vary in size. So I think there's something to be experimented here. So we will all figure out hopefully a lot about clusters today. I used to make so many pairs of cluster earrings, but I feel like we could smash together all the cluster techniques in one today. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to start cranking out simple loops. So to do that, just get your bead on your head pin. Using the Sarah Lovecraft method of using my pliers to bend my wire. Bend it as far as you can. Ideally 90 degrees, but you don't have to get all the way. Give yourself, usually I think it's about just less than ½ an inch there to make your loop. And then using your round nose pliers, make sure that wire does not stick out of your round nose. If you have it protruding, see how it's protruding just a little bit there? Your loop is not going to be as nice. This is something I learned from Rachel Malice way back in the day. So you want to line up that tip of the wire so you do not see it coming out. From there, you should be able to make a pretty nice loop. It does not have to be perfect. I tend to make small adjustments as I'm making the loop because you can always kind of open it up a little bit. And the main thing is you need your loop to be closed. Otherwise, it will not stay on the final head pin. All right, now that we've got an explanation done, I'm going to make a whole bunch of these. I'm going to use more probably of the 6-ish millimeter ones, 5-6 millimeter ones, just because they're going to take up more space. and we kind of need that to have a bountiful look to our cluster. I'm thinking that I'll probably use more of the smallest ones later on, because I do have this dream for these earrings to have multiple sets of clusters hanging from that loop. So I'm curious, clusters are like a pretty great standard sort of technique. Who here makes clusters, and what do you tend to gravitate towards when you're putting them together? Do you use the method where you're stacking up your head pins onto another piece of wire? Or do you tend to link them on a chain, link them on jump rings? Because they achieve different looks. The one on jump rings has a bit more movement to it, which is quite pretty. But they're on the flip side of it, this more stacked version tends to look fuller, and I do really like that. And it, especially when people do it with gemstones, you get to see this whole bundle of gems stacked almost as if it's made into a new bead. So it's like two very different looks. I'm curious if I start with a more compact look at the center of the earring, how it will then look to then add a more dangly cluster lower down. If you have the one-step looper, you can totally use it. You just need to make sure it's fully closing the loops. I've had some trouble with the one-step looper in the past, just because if your beads are more fragile, sometimes I had issues with it putting too much pressure on the bead itself and cracking it. So I don't tend to grab it much. I think I have it hiding somewhere these days. I couldn't tell you the last time I used it. But it's also great practice just to work on your simple loops, because you're going to need, the more you do them, the more consistent it'll feel. There's someone posting in Gemto like, how do I make my pieces faster? And I love someone's reply was, it's just all repetition. The more your hands get used to trying the technique out, everything just starts to move faster. You're thinking less about what you're doing, which is nice because you can probably then kind of multitask a bit more. Like right now, I'm somehow able to chat with you guys, which I don't think I used to be able to chat as well while I was so intent on what I was making. The reality here, though, is I'm just going to need so many for this initial cluster. So I'm being a little ambitious here. I hope not overly ambitious, because I might even make a dozen and be like, oh my God, it doesn't look like enough beads. But we might start with here actually, and maybe it will work, because we can do that compact cluster and it doesn't have to be the whole earring. We're going to be adding more anyway. So I'm just going to focus on variety of color, do a few more of the smaller beads and see how those look. See, I noticed I wasn't doing a good job with this loop. So I am adjusting as I'm going, just to make sure it ends up closing nicely. No one is like, yes, it's a slightly off center, but that is okay. So let me get this a little bit more in focus. So if there's less on the tray, the camera knows how to focus better. So far we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. I think we should have a minimum of 12 to start, or else I think we inevitably are going to want to add more. We could stack up. Let me see how it looks. I'm going to put a really small one followed by next size up. It looks like maybe a 3mm and a 4-ish millimeter. Put those together. I got some Firepolish mixes for my stash years ago, and they're really nice to work with, because there's always situations where you want variety, but you don't want to go looking for like a bunch of beads that go together. Like the mixes are really nice to have ready to go, because like I can probably make a whole pair, like tons of earrings just with one mix and not have to grab other beads really from my stash. Also, they're very fun to look at. So let's just try that again. I'll use a smaller size bead followed by Next size up. Ooh, I found some silver coat on this one. All right, so who's getting a New York City mystery box? I was kind of blown away by the interest, but that warehouse was insane. I never they simply have probably more beads than anyone. I don't know who would have more beads in that warehouse. They have decades of beads of check glass that they've manufactured for years now. They actually used to work primarily with jewelry designers that like produce their designs in mass. So like if they designed a piece with a check bead, they needed a lot of that bead. And so if you want to like call up the Czech Republic needing a bead, they're going to tell you, okay, give us a minimum 3 months. Like that's when Rachel and I are ordering for the bead box. It just takes time. So they were there. They're like, okay, what if we just have a lot of each bead? I think it's changed a lot for them. I don't think there's as much of that sort of designing in mass happening in the States anymore, at least in those quantities. So they focus a lot more on bead shops, and they were very welcoming to let me kind of dig through their older stuff. All the fire polishes, they actually used to have a retail bead store and had all this fire polish from the store. And just so many different colors and sizes, but they couldn't just like put it back in their stock because they'd already like rebagged it all in different quantities and things. So it just like had been sitting there for at least like 10, 15 years, which is why they think these beads are probably vintage because they were made long before even then. So it's like we just have such a cool little treasure find here. I'm gonna try another one because now I'm just curious how it's gonna look. Grabbing that small bead, followed by a medium bead. Could be another way to make our cluster have a little more oomph to it. Oh, Lori's saying, what is the New York City mystery box? Yeah, Lori, when I was in the city, I got to visit a few suppliers, and one in particular had pallets of beads they let me dig through and take, and they shipped it all, and they shipped it off to me once I went through it. And that's where I found all this fire polish. So the idea I had proposed was to put together mystery boxes using whatever I found there. It's like I proposed this before I even went to New York. I didn't know what I was going to find, but I knew I was going to get to go digging. So we now have a better sense of what it is, and it's going to be a really fire polish featured box. So like that's one of the small size mixes, one of the large size mixes. Okay, avert your eyes if you don't want to see more. I can show you one more. Here's another mix of small sizes of greens and browns, amber gorgeousness here. And then we got lots of different bundles we're probably going to send out too. Rachel and I are finishing up exactly what's going to be in the boxes right after this class, but it should look pretty cool. And especially if you're someone who likes shiny check beads like this and loves bead mixes, I think you're really going to like the box. All right, let's start putting some of these together and see how it's looking. All right, so we got to pick our feature large bead. I've been eyeing this, like, actually it's that modeled peach bead we've had in the shop. Yes, like you, Lori. I think you will very much like this box. So to actually grab it, it's on the app. It's on the top of the app. It's also it's on the homepage of the website as well right now. Just search NYC and you'll find it.
I want to ask how much it costs.
Yeah, the boxes are $50, and we are going to be putting all sorts of beads in them. Definitely keep in mind with mixes and such, how many beads are in here, because typically we would sell like a small, like 4 mm bead, like in a 100-piece pack. This is like probably 300, 400 pieces in this bag alone. which gives it pretty high value. And we are going to be giving like nice baggies. Of the large mixes, I think we were making like 3-ounce bags. So we are focusing more on like really nice specific items, and you probably won't it's not gonna be like a million items like the mystery box we did earlier in the year. This one's very different, kind of its own unique thing with some fancier beads, a lot more fire polish. And then we're gonna toss in any other fun finds in there as well. So like we've got a bunch of cathedrals and a whole variety of colors. It'll be a little, there's gonna be a surprise element to it, but you're gonna get a nice value and variety of beads in your mystery box. All right, so we've got that lovely lavender amethyst glass I've picked out. I'm just gonna use some copper wire. This is a 20 gauge. And I think I do want to do a wire wrap loop just because it'll secure everything else nicely. Hopefully I don't regret this, but I think this is what I want. If I do my loop big enough, I can actually fit it right onto that horseshoe. This is a true hope it works sort of moment. So I'm going to go higher up on my round nose pliers and see if that's large enough. Otherwise, I can just use a jump ring. Oh, that wasn't too hard. All right, let's see how this works. Okay, we're gonna, oh, fascinating. That can just slip through like that. We don't have to worry about it. And we're gonna, great, that actually works really nicely. We don't have to worry about holding the whole loop in place right now. So I'm just gonna make a couple loops. Gosh, it doesn't like to focus on my wire wrapping, does it? It's because I have so many beads on my... Lori, that's correct. It's going to be at its max discount. We're going to put as many beads as we can in the boxes, so no other coupons apply to the mystery boxes. It is already going to be so awesome. And I want to fill it with as many beads as I can. All right, we've got a wire wrap loop, so we can try adding on some of our goodies here. I'm going to start with a smaller bead, couple of the smaller beads. And we're just going to see how it looks. Like this might not quite work. We might need to make some small adjustments. Let's take a look. So all I'm doing is putting my loops right on. Okay, I'm loving how this is looking already. Happy almost holidays, everyone. I can't believe it's like that season already. I feel like it definitely snuck up on me a little bit. I guess like I saw, I don't know, maybe I saw the Rockefeller tree. I saw like it was Christmas was happening in New York, but like was it still a little bit on the early side? Oh my gosh, here's what's happening. There's one bead where I stacked on a larger bead and it's coming out a little far for my taste. So I am gonna get that one off of there. But everything else looks just fine. And we'll see if we even need this many at this moment. So for the stacking, it looks like it worked a lot better stacking up smaller beads that aren't sticking out like an arm from my cluster. With these clusters, if you do one size, it will achieve a different look. Let's see how this stacks up. Oh my gosh, it's looking pretty. Alrighty, here is that tight form of cluster. Rachel, look, I love it. It's so sparkly. And it has a bit of volume to it because I stacked up the beads there.
Oh, I think I totally thought you were doing a different type of cluster.
Oh, my goal is to do all the types of cluster.
I thought it was like the kind of cluster that dangles off a chain.
Oh, I want to also do that.
Okay.
That's next. This was step one.
Okay.
So we're going to finish this off. need to make sure I keep this tight enough. Oh, if I want to do a wire wrap loop, let's see if I can get that wire bent back. If I do a wire wrap loop, I'll be able to keep this all a lot tighter because I can control things a lot more easily. So let's get a wire wrap loop going. Oh my gosh, I'm excited already. Clusters are very fun. They're like an easy win design, especially with this mix ready to go. Like I didn't have to do that much design work because Rachel and I already spent all the time picking out colors that we thought looked pretty together. It's quite the debates to figure out what goes in a mix. It has to be just right. I think we actually have, after this, we need to go make a couple more mixes for the box. We haven't even made any of like our blue mixes yet.
Michelle shared. You see what Michelle commented?
What did Michelle say?
He said, I don't think anyone will be disappointed.
Yeah, these are a fun mystery box. I think this is one you're really not gonna want to miss out on. All right, what's going on with my loop here? All right, so you do have options, like you don't have to dangle it like that, but I think I do like the look of it having more weight at the top. That feels right to me. So far, it's looking like that. It's already looking nice. Let's just do a smaller dangle below that, and we might have our earring. I was thinking we might need to, I was gonna add a cluster, a smaller cluster on either side, but it might not need it. It might be a little bit much. So let's do a smaller cluster to kind of finish this off here on this earring. So this is where we are going to need some jump rings. Here's some oval ones. And I think we're going to want to really focus on the smaller beads. So I didn't even end up using too many of the larger beads. You could use like a larger mix for matching necklace and whatnot. And let's, you guys guess what we're doing next? Putting beads onto head pins. And I'm really going to try to use more of the smaller ones, which is, yes, I have very long head pins for doing this, but here we are. These is a lot more noticeable cluster, so I think I might want to switch over to doing wire wrap loops. I actually think I'm sometimes faster at them because I do them more often. And it's always good practice. So I think I'm going to do them mainly because, not because of speed, but because you're going to see the wraps. And I really think there's a difference in look between when you see a simple loop right against a, come on, okay, maybe this is where it takes me longer. I gotta find the end to tuck in. I love the look of wrap loops. Don't love tucking this end clearly right now. Can't see what I'm doing. There we go. But I think it has more of a finished look. Anyone see the itty bitty tiny bead? I just wrapped a tiny bead. Here we are. Happy Friday. But I think there's a nice look that comes from doing a wrap loop. And you also don't have to, it's a little easier to bend your wire because you're bending it against pliers here. And yes, I am a little biased towards wrap loops. So we're gonna make a collection of these guys. I'm using all the smaller size Firepolish. I want to do more of like a dangle chain type cluster now. Tamara says looks very party sassy. The earrings. Yeah, it's got like some personality to it with all the volume it's taking of it. It looks kind of like a New Year's explosion of sparkle. I don't even know how many of these I'm going to need quite yet, but if we have a bunch ready to go, it'll give us some freedom in just a moment. Always come in with your pliers to give you some extra leverage. Haha. Oh, that was 3. Each one feels like a little win, and then I'm like, uh-oh. I need more beads. But start practicing your wire loops with me here. So if you don't feel good about your wire wrap loops, take it one step at a time. First, you're thinking about how much space you want for your loops. For a bead like this, I don't need that much room for that many loops. Even that should let me put a couple loops. Then I'm thinking about how large I want my actual loop to be. I'm sorry, earlier I was talking about the wraps. Now I'm talking about the actual loop. Since I'm closer to the tip of the plier, the loop will be much smaller. And then from there, I actually make those wraps. Do that a dozen times over, and I think you'll already start liking your loops. Always tuck in your ends. You don't want that to catch. It also makes it look nice. This is also when is a nice little time for cleanup on each wrap. When I'm gently squeezing those coils, it makes it look a lot more finished as well. So let's see here. Someone asked about gauge. These are an extra pack of the TierCast head pins. So I think they're around like a 21 gauge. We got some in, but they've shipped. I need to just make sure they're not on the site quite yet. The restock isn't on the site quite yet because I needed to make sure I knew which ones they were. If I had purchased them before they changed their head pins, if they changed these head pins, they were just like, oh, I can't put these on the site quite yet. But this feels to be about a 21 gauge head pin. You can feel pretty quickly with your head pins if you're going to be able to do wire wrap loops. If it's a really thicker gauge head pin, even like a 20. Head pins are generally pretty work hardened when they come, so it's hard to do more than a simple loop with something like that. But you'll feel like, oh, this has some softness to it. I can do a wire wrap loop. All right, let's do at least 8 to start, just to have something to start with. And I'm really focusing intentionally on these tiny beads because I just want these soft little sparkles to finish off the piece. So let's do 2 more after this one and then start experimenting with how we want it to actually lay out. See what Lori said. I made my first cha-cha bracelet a few weeks ago. One of your mixes with 2 beads on each chain loop. I thought I would never finish wire wrapping, but I didn't want them to fall off like the simple wraps. Yeah, the simple wraps are fine, and they are decently secure, especially in thicker gauges. I never do simple loops in the 24 gauge ever, because it's such a soft gauge of wire, and that it's not going to hold up that nicely. Obviously, wire wrap loops are always going to be the safest, but if you're using an 18 or 20 gauge wire, I'm not that worried about my simple loop at all. It's gonna be fine. We can't stress ourselves out too much here. It's also pretty hard to do a wire wrap loop with thicker gauge wires. It also starts to feel very meditative and lovely. I really like making wire wrap loops. Once I first learned how to do them, I made some chains, some almost like rosary style chains, just looping beads together over and over, and you start to get a feel of start to get a feel for each wire wrap loop. You're like, okay, if I need to this is where I need to pay attention, and this is where I get off a little bit in my wire wrap loop. All right, one more. I think the main thing that I had to find for my loops was getting the wrap started in a nice way. And I think I've noticed that's something folks have a harder time with. It's right here, I'm gonna break the neck a little bit, which is just to mean I'm bending that loop back to be a bit more centered. You want to start your wire wrap loop with this wire pretty straight on. That wire should be a 90-degree with your bead. Starting from there, it's a lot easier to get the coils to be where you want to be. I'm pulling slightly to the left with the hand that I'm wrapping with, so that the coils end up looking pretty intentional. If I were to be pulling any sort of this way, those wraps in there, those coils, would not be together, and I probably wouldn't like it that much. I like that small detail of the loops being together, and then I come back from there and squeeze gently, bringing that all together. But look how nice a result I get. I get 3 nice loops just like that. So from there, I have 8 ready to go. Let's try these out. We could have hung some directly from that loop, and we still could. We might end up having to fill some in. But I'm going to come in with my jump ring, add on. We get to pick how many we want to add on. I could put on 4. Might be too many, but we'll see. I want to make sure like it doesn't come from too wide to too small too quickly. Get that jump ring closed. These oval ones are fun because that loop is always going to be on this side. It's pretty much always going to want to hang like that, so that where the opening is not where the beads are. So it makes it a lot more secure. So we've got 4 there. Let's keep adding some length and see how we like the look of it. I'm going to put this jump ring in the middle of those 4 beads. So I'm going to put 2 on that side, 2 on this side. And hook my jump ring in the middle of them. On this one, maybe we'll try putting 3 on this one. This is like a moment of truth here, isn't it? So to get my jump ring really closed, I wiggle it back and forth until there's no opening. It also helps to work hard and just giving that wire a little extra movement. The more you move wire, the harder it gets, until it actually gets so brittle that it snaps. That's actually the other end of work harding. You don't want that, obviously. So here's how it's looking so far. You can't even actually tell that there's 2 levels going on here. I was actually imagining a little bit more length versus cluster effect, because I'm getting it's feeling very tight, like the top cluster, and I really wanted to balance it out with a longer cluster. So let's go back to the drawing board for a second. I'm going to switch to what I classically do, which is 1 bead per jump ring. So get this jump ring open. Get some of our beads free, and let's try that again. And I'm just going to do 2 beads per level, so 1 on each side. Let's get that jump ring on there. And you actually can just add on the next level's jump ring now, but you don't have to, so I'm not going to do it at this moment. Switch to putting on 2 beads instead of 4. We'll see how we like the look of that. I really want it to look more like a chain than a tight cluster here. All right, let's do the next one. Get your jump ring open. So the fast way to do it is you can hook on a bead, hook on to the middle point. So I've got my 2 beads here. I'm going to hook on right in the center, then add on my second bead. So this is all personal preference here. I'm just showing you multiple ways that your cluster can come together. I hope you make your own cluster and it has its own feel to it. I'm gonna do the same thing on the next level. So I already have one bead hooked on here. I'm gonna go in between my two beads and hook on my new jump ring. Sorry, you can't see this quite as well. I'm fighting a lot of things in my way. I also didn't open up my jump ring nearly enough. Get on my next bead. Close that up nicely. I'm really hoping I like the look of it like this, but I won't really know for a second. I'm not looking yet. Let's do our fourth and final row, potentially. I feel like I'm in the zone now. Like, here we are. This is also how you can just make chain. This is how you can make a cluster chain. It's just repeating this over and over, where you just have a chain going just like this with beads dangling on it. So let's see how that looks with two beads on the last row. We might then just do one more jump ring with one bead on it if we want some extra length. So you see how it's so much less dense now. I'm gonna hold this up just for my to the main screen for a second. The look here is a lot longer than it previously was. Let's see if I can. It's a lot closer to what I was wanting. For just a finished look, I think let's wrap up one more bead and see how it looks dangling from the bottom. So what's our final bead going to be? Is it larger? Is it smaller? Could be more of like a medium size. Could be a different type of bead. It could be more of a brio at the bottom. Let's try this one. Looks like about 4 millimeter here. And let's get one more bead wrapped up. So it'll be a total of 9 hanging on the bottom side. I hope this is getting you inspired to try some things out. This is just great to try out with bead soup. You can even kind of start making up your own bead soups while you're cleaning up. Like, oh, here, let me throw a bunch of this color in a little tub. You could have like 6 tubs at your station, or for beads you just don't want to sort too much, just like throw some extras into each tub and you'll have a lovely soup. All right, I got our bead. Let's grab our last jump ring and see if we like the final earring. I think I do. Oh, someone suggested I use that double bead at the very bottom. I definitely could do that. It does have a nice, like, it feels like it's a weight at the bottom, which is nice. But my goal was more of like a tapering. I wanted it like to feel like you almost couldn't see the end of the cluster, or it just kind of ends. Just for this cluster, maybe on the next cluster, I wanted more of an anchor bead to end. So all I did is I hooked that jump ring between the 2 beads that were above it. This works with pretty much any type of jump ring. So here's how it looks. Yeah, I'm glad we added that one at the bottom. It just kind of finishes the taper effect nicely. From that, let's hook it on to our horse. I keep calling them horseshoes. In the shop, they're called like open loop. Loving how this is coming out. I was thinking you could still dangle on some beads if you want to get even more extra. Loop on a couple beads onto the loop here up itself. I kind of want to do it. Let's see how it looks. I want a medium. I think I want a couple medium beads. Nope, that's too big. We'll use more of like a 6 millimeter. I'll do a similar glass to the main bead. We'll just see how this looks. We'll experiment. And then we have to finish up the earring. A couple ways we could do that. Alrighty, got my 6mm bead. I'm guessing like 5 or 6. Looks like a 6. I'm gonna do a wire wrap loop. I need a big enough loop to be able to go on to my open loop charm. We have a good stock on the open loop charms right now. These are made in the US by Nunn Design. It's a lovely design. We sell them by the piece. You can grab however many you like. They come in their main finish is like silver, copper, gold, I think. Great little things to have around. Sometimes it's hard to know when to stop, but in this case, it's a cluster design, like whatever. Let's keep going. See if we like it. Has a little extra movement. I could see that even becoming its own little chain hanging down, but for now, I'm gonna do just one bead. Let's do that one more time. Anyone have some nice hot weekend plans coming up? I think Jesse's is doing his Christmas early this weekend. Travel's a lot less crazy. Probably smart. Hanukkah is about to start, which is fun. It starts on I want to say the 18th. I think it starts on Sunday. Yeah. Rachel and I saw a new musical in the city last night that our friend that we've known for many years is in. She probably told me, I didn't hear it, but our friend was playing the lead in the show. She was fantastic. I think it closes this weekend. Let's talk about Lena was in the lead in the show.
I think we need to share some winning news.
Okay, hold on. All right, added on little extra bonus. Might not be needed. It might just kind of get caught on the cluster, but let me hold it up for myself here. Oh, it's kind of pretty. I could totally see adding on a bunch more of those. That would be my recommendation. If you kept adding them, it would kind of keep that shape of the open loop. So let's see how we can finish up the earring itself. I'm thinking just jump rings. Alternatively, you could always like add on a bead and maybe we'll dangle a bead. But let's see how we can get this to come too close. So these open loops actually have holes, 2 holes here. So I'm going to start adding them until we can kind of until we have enough length to add on a ear wire. Let's see. Kind of depends on how these lay. I think we need to add on at least one more to each, and then we should be able to bring them together with the ear wire. The other idea I had for this was you could kind of do a wire loop or simple loop coming from either side and then coming together at an ear wire, making kind of a triangle shape. I think by doing the jump rings, it'll look like kind of like a chain, which will be pretty. So I'm gonna try it like that. I do love some chain. I don't know how chain mailers do it. It's so many, linking each and every jump ring together. Very impressive. Alrighty, got 2 jump rings on each side. Let's see if we can bring these together, either on a jump ring or on the ear wire itself. The loop on that ear wire is pretty small, so it looks like that's going to want to go onto a jump ring. Let's see how this looks. Can't feel like something's twisted. All right, that's better. One of the jump rings have gotten twisted. But look at that. We have actually going in the right direction, then I should be able to add on my ear winner. There's not really a front or back side to this piece, which is kind of nice. This, I think, actually is the copper niobium earwire. It's the only piece in TRK's collection that's a different color tone because they can't use a plating to keep it hypoallergenic. They have to use an oh god, fancy word, a different process for adding color. So it ends up being a little bit different, but I don't mind it too much because it's just basically a darker version of the anti-copper tone. And here's our nice long finished piece. This is quite the party earring here. I love how it came out. It has like some nice shaping to it because it has this whole shape, has a second section, and then the bottom is a lovely cluster of gorgeous down there. The last element I would consider adding is more beads to the loop itself. That's also not necessary. You can tell there's already a lot going on this piece. But since I feel a little extra, I have one spot I want to dangle a bead from to finish this piece off nicely. So I'm going to use another very small size bead hanging right from the center there. And that should be my last loop of the entire earring. And then we want to announce some winners, Rachel?
Yeah, it's over.
Okay, you got the winner.
Yeah, you pull up slide.
Uh-huh. So we'll post these final pieces of the winners in this, but we can at least announce who it is in just a second.
So yeah, just so you guys know what we're talking about, if folks remember, we had Danielle, Tracy, and Sarah. We sent them the mystery competition kit, and they came up with some fabulous designs. You also had the opportunity to grab one for yourself and compete to be our first community winner of the showdown, of the fall 2022 showdown. So then we had our designers, so Anne, me, and Sam, we all separately looked at the entries, put in our votes. I tallied up the votes, and we have a 3-way tie for first place. And we don't want to choose one of you, so there are 3 incredible winners.
That's awesome.
From our community. I mean, we loved every design that came in. Like, there was so much talent, so much creativity. So, like, please know, like, even if you didn't win, like, we still like just appreciated that you participated, and
there's so much talent. So much talent.
There was so much. So this is what caught people's fancy this time.
Just in time, the earring is done.
Are you guys ready? Can I get a drum roll in the comments?
Yeah, let me
Throw some, like, I don't know, throw some stars in the comments. Let's do a starry drum roll.
Alrighty, who is our first place winner?
Our first place winner is Diane Davis of the Helpful Hound Boutique.
Woo! Congratulations,
I think
Diane.
Davis. I think I saw you here earlier. I don't know if you're still here.
Congratulations,
Congrats.
Diane. Yeah, we'll post photos of each of Diane's piece and our other 2 winners,
so that you can see them up close and ooh and ah over them.
Our second first place winner is...
Yeah, you're also in first place, is Jackie Bianchi.
Congratulations, Jackie.
From Jackie's Beachy Beading in Florida.
Lovely. Oh my gosh. Rachel has little thumbnails of the finished pieces here.
And Diane is here.
Aw, congratulations.
I love that. And our last first place winner.
This is in no particular order, by the way.
Oh, yeah. This is random order. Of the fall 2022 Sam's Bead Shop Showdown is Dawn Edwards with her Victorian garden piece.
Oh my gosh, it was so cool.
DawnReneeCreations.com.
It was really hard to vote
for
my
gosh,
favorites.
It was so hard.
I was just like...
I think I started by choosing like my top 20, and then I had to keep trying to choose my top.
Yeah, so everyone did such a beautiful job. Thank you for just like showing up and like being part of the community. Like, this is why I think our community feels so special. Like, everyone, you really took on the challenge and like made something beautiful. So I hope you got to go out and wear your piece, regardless if you're one of the first place winners or not.
Yeah, and as promised, these designs are going to get featured on our homepage of samsbeadshop.com. That'll happen sometime next week. That they'll get up there, and we'll probably mention it in an email. I
had promised a gnome to the winner when I thought there was going to be one winner, so hopefully I have enough of the gnomes that we can get those to you as well. But that's TBD. But you are our winners. Congratulations!
Congrats! Yay!
And everyone, thank you for participating. To wrap up today, though, we got New York City mystery boxes launching today.
Grab them on the website. They're our first item up on the app, or you can head to the website and go to the class kit section, or just like search NYC on the website.
Yeah, so
it's probably the easiest.
Show Rachel's talking about. So if you go to the Sam's Bead Shop app,
the very first
item, it says New York City mystery. That's where you can purchase one. If you're already on the wait list, you can add one to your cart.
No, if you're already on the wait list, it'll be in your cart.
Sorry, exactly.
Yeah, it'll already be in your cart.
I jumped to the second possibility. If you weren't on the wait list, you can add one to your cart and go ahead and purchase it. We'll be shipping sometime next week once they're ready.
Yeah, it'll be full of beautiful fire polish and maybe some other goodies too. All check glass.
And here are our final earrings.
And you can come back to this tutorial and oh my gosh, Sam,
can
these
you
are
believe
decadent.
They actually came out so well.
Oh, I love it.
So using,
can I hold it? Can I?
You put them in your ear. They're
my piercings are too small, but I can only wear studs.
You need some more light. Try to.
Oh, it looks so beautiful.
Yay! I love. Also, the nun design is what gives it the shape to it. Like the beads were such a nice accent to that loop. So you might want to, while you're purchasing the mystery box, you might inevitably want to make some clusters and grab. You could do this one. We have other like chandelier findings from TierCast.
Yep.
Maybe get yourself some inspiration so you can just start making immediately when you get your box.
Yeah, and then
this is just one of the mixes, and we're about to go make a couple more.
Yeah, lots of different colors. But I know today was the reveal day for the December bead box. So if you've been making with that this week, go ahead and share that in Gem Chat. We're going to do we will do the official unboxing next week, Monday.
Yeah.
Got to put that on the calendar.
Yeah. We were just planning Monday. We got to add that one.
We got to add that one.
So
we'll see you then. We'll see you Monday.
And then, so class a week from today will be focused around the December box.
Cool.
And I think I'm gonna try. We actually had Nile make us some silver. So even though Nile is on vacation, we can't have no one can reach Nile right now. No, you can't. But Nile takes his vacation in December, so he still made us custom silver silk. So I'm gonna probably be designing with that on Friday. Might have a special guest. So definitely mark your calendars for the same time next week, 3:00 Pacific. Our next stream, though, is probably going to be our Tuesday sale. No, our Monday unboxing of the December box, and then our Tuesday sale.
And I think you're on with Sarah Tuesday morning.
Oh my gosh, there's so much going on.
Because
Monday unboxing, Tuesday morning with Sarah.
Because it's bead box extras next Tuesday.
Tuesday 10 a.m. Pacific is with Sarah. We're going to be designing with the December box also then. Sarah always comes up with something fun with the bead box each month. And then at 5:00 Pacific, we have our bead box extra sale. So if there's something you've been wanting more of from the December box, now it's time to get it, because there's a lot of custom beads in that box that we'll have at once, and we'll probably not be able to order again because there are very high minimums.
Yeah, we got one more week of fun before the holidays.
Oh my goodness. So I'll see you guys on Monday with Rachel. Have a great weekend and go make something pretty. I'm going to holiday party tonight, and if I had my ears pierced,
I know you gotta get that done.
I would be wearing these.
Fabulous.
Actually, I'd probably wearing smaller earrings, but the idea of wearing those.
These are true Sarah Lovecraft earrings. Big and dangly.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bye,
Good night.
everyone.